Welcome to She's All Business. I'm Sophia, and I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest today, Ashley Afriyie. She's going to talk to us about her life and how she became a stylist and fashion brand consultant. Ashley, welcome.
Hi, Sophia.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This is so fun. I'm very excited.
I'm really appreciative of you supporting me and just taking time out of your busy day just to be here. So I'm curious what your go-to staple in your wardrobe is.
I have these great pair of Stuart Weitzman boots, and I'm telling you, every time I wear them, I get the best compliments ever. And so these boots are like my staple, like from winter to spring or whatever. They just they're very non-seasonal and they're comfortable. So I always look cute, but also comfortable because
it's a good balance.
It's a very good, yes, it's a good balance of both where I'm looking cute and stylish, and you can dress it up or dress it down. And that's always key and a big win for me in my opinion.
So as a stylist, one of the most important things that you have is your styling kit. And for those of you who don't know, a styling kit is basically just like a bag or a suitcase, depending on where you're going, for on set or with a client with all the styling essentials.
Yes.
What is your most important thing in your styling kit?
Wow. Well, obviously everything. It's my job. If I may cheat, there's two things, because these two things, no matter what the outfit is or whatever, I always need it. There's a lot of things in my kit where I never even have to touch it. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Because essentially you almost don't want to have to use your kit because you're like, everything's perfect. So with me, it's scissors. There's always something there's a loose thread, or can you cut this rampant little sequin or this button, there's always something. And then top stick.
I was going to say top stick.
Of course, because I'm always, either faking a hem or taping down a top for someone or hiding something. It's almost like a fake way of doing alterations on something.
And also before I started styling, I didn't know what top stick was. So because I never had to use it.
Yeah, of course. Totally. Yeah.
And essentially it's just an adhesive that you can put with the fabric on the skin.
Yeah, exactly. To Sophia's point, it's adhesive that you can put on the skin, you can put on fabric. The everyday person would have been using top stick because if you do have something wrong with an outfit or whatever, you just kind of take it to get fixed or you fix it yourself. But with us, as stylists, it's the number thing that kind of saves a lot of outfits for us.
So you are so busy. I see on your story, obviously all the tomfoolery stuff that you post, but also that you're up at 5 a.m. on set almost every day. And I'm like, how does she do it all? I'm curious what you get to do in your free time when you have it.
I really try to not work on the weekends, unless obviously if I'm away for work or it's award season where the award shows are on a Sunday. So I'm obviously working all weekend. But weekends, I volunteer at a soup kitchen. I'm a chef, so I like doing that. I also was a mentor for Big Brother, Big Sister, so I try to hang out with my sister mentee. I live close to the park, so I go to the park and run a lot. And then other than that, it's a lot of times I do go out to the burbs. A lot of my best friends live out in the burbs. My family's also from Jersey. My mom lives there, so I will go out to New Jersey and hang out and just kind of get out of the city. And then if I'm in the city, it's also hanging out with my city friends. I know, not to be a basic diva, I'm brunch on Sunday or Saturday, after, volunteering.
After a busy week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. After a busy week, I'm doing brunch.
So I want to start from the beginning with you and kind of going from your childhood kind of to college time frame, knowing about your family influences and how that impacted, your decision in your career, but also what you were interested in.
Yeah. So, again, not to sound super cliche, but I've always loved fashion. I mean, it's you can look at baby pictures of me. My mom was showing, it's me carrying a bag. I love a bag, jewelry. I've always just loved fashion. I don't know, again, if when I was younger, I was this is my career path. For me, I was just I just want to work in fashion. I don't know what that means, where I can go with it, but I was just I just need to be around there. Either my senior or junior year in high school, they introduced a course called fashion merchandising. This class in particular, I was I didn't know there could be a job such as this. So I took this course. I was I think I want to be a buyer. This is fun. Naively, I thought when you're a buyer, you just go into the showroom and buy stuff. And I'm going to be a buyer for Barney's. And I'm just going to go to the Gucci, Chanel, Versace showroom and say this will good. That's literally my stupid ass self thinking. And I was yeah, I'm going to be a buyer. So right after that course, I really loved my teacher too, because she was the one that kind of told me about FIT. So that's where I went to school, college, Fashion Institute of Technology. But I remember when I had this conversation with her, I was like, I want to go to school. And so she's like, well, the best place to go to school for fashion is New York City. There's multiple schools. There's Parsons, there's LIM, there's FIT, like not like you have to go to fashion school to end up in fashion, but she was just kind of like where it sounds like you were wanting to do, like with the buyer. Yeah, and opportunities. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And she's like, for opportunities and stuff. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And so I applied to FIT, did all that stuff, whatever, got in and did fashion merchandising because I was like, okay, this was a class I took in high school, which I started to learn a little bit about like what fashion merchandising meant. And I knew there was a little bit more math to it, but this class was like touched on everything different in fashion. So it wasn't just like that. Get into FIT, started my 1 semester in fashion merchandising. And when I tell you, I found out it was like literally just math. I was like, absolutely not. Respected buyers, because I don't even know how to do it because it's more than just like buying for like your store. Like you have to do the math. You're studying the market and like, all this stuff with sale. I don't know.
It's too much.
It's just too much. Like you had to take multiple math courses like as part of the program. Girl, I was on well. I started having conversations with my like counselor. I was like, yeah, I need to like switch majors. I remember speaking to this one professor and she was like, okay, like I noticed that you love reading magazines. You should try advertising and marketing. It's like the fashion side of it. I can be in magazines and not write, but like what is fashion? It's just telling stories, but without the, copy. You're just like putting a story together of like fashion and clothing. Yeah. And so when someone's reading it, they're like, oh, this like whole shoot campaign is referencing the 1920s. And I was like, yeah, you're right. That's it.
The visual
that's a
component.
visual. And then it almost segued into styling because you're styling something and creating a story without necessarily writing it out, but you're in these big fashion magazines. And so that's really where the like light bulb went off. I landed my first internship at Teen Vogue. I was trying to find all ways to get into this, like get my foot in the door because transparently back then, it's like a lot of it was like, Nepo babies. I was doing like some sort of research on the Teen Vogue blog. And funny enough, the Teen Vogue back then used to do like highlight interns, like rock star interns, if you will. So I saw this one and it was funny because one of my good friends, I knew her because she was in one of my classes. She's like highlighted as one of the rock stars. And I was like, listen, like, I know it's like the Hunger Games to get an internship at this place. Like, how did you do it? Whatever. And she kind of was like, same thing, like research and whatever. And she's like, listen, like, I'm happy to pass off your resume. I was like, I don't really have one. Like, she's like, listen, I know you seem like you're good and whatever. So I can talk to them. She in a way like introduced me to her supervisor. I still had to do the interview. And so like I went in there and I just like kind of did my research and I was like, listen, like, I know I don't have experience, but like I'm hungry for this, just kind of really like expressing that. And she was really happy with my like answers. I left and she was like, okay, well, she was like, thank you, blah, blah, we'll be in touch and all that stuff. So I walked out, I called my mom, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I got this, like whatever. I had just gone back to my dorms at FIT and I get a call that same day. She calls me and she's like, are you busy right now? And I was like, what? So you want me to start out? She's like, yeah, can you? And I was like, yes, of course. So yeah, I started at Teen Vogue, was there for like a year. After a year, I asked my boss, I was like, listen, my goal in like fashion life is to like work at Vogue or Internet Vogue. Yeah. I need to get there somehow. And like, she was like, you're a rock star, I love you. And she hooked me up with an internship. I was on Hamish Bowles' team because he oversaw the features department at the time, and Stephanie was my direct line. And he was coming out with a book of like Vogue over the years. And so me and this one girl, her name is Frederica, and we're good friends now because we spent our entire summer in the Vogue Condé Nast library, which is like amazing. It's like the craziest thing because it has literally Vogue from when it first came out to like the 20s and the 40s. Basically, they tasked us with like make photocopies of like parties of the years from Vogue.
So you also interned, did you do NBC Universal?
Yes, that was after Vogue. So tapping into the PR part of things, I was like, oh, you know what? Like I love magazine. I was at Teen Vogue. I was at Vogue. And I was like, okay, like let me try the other part of my program or, major, which is communications. And I was like, I like TV and NBC. I was in the promotions department as a promotions intern for movies. So that was really fun actually, because like it was so obviously different. We were doing a lot more promotion stuff like for when movies were going to be coming out.
But you also interned at Marie Claire too.
Yes, UK. Because I studied abroad.
Yes, at London College of Fashion, right?
Yes. Okay,
I did my research.
I studied abroad and I lived in London. I had this weird obsession with like being English and like
as one does.
I think I just wanted to be the queen or like be friends with the royal. So like I just, my head was dating the prince, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, like I have to go to London now and study abroad. So yes, I did. FIT has a great study abroad program. Part of the program, which FIT is so great about, is like you all have to put your resume together. And by then I had like Teen Vogue and Vogue under my belt. So I like had like a resume. What it is you get accepted to the program and then it's like you will get credits, but then they give you a list of all the like opportunities, like, oh, you could be an intern in the fashion closet here, or you could be an intern for the advertising, like whatever. And Marie Claire UK, obviously so many people wanted that internship. Like it was the one editorial internship and it was Marie Claire. There was like 5 of us that wanted for it, and you kind of had to write in out like chronological or prioritize like which ones you wanted. Like this is my number one choice, second, whatever. And obviously there was like 5 of us that really wanted it, and I got it. When I first started, we were sitting down and I was like, I had the hungry mentality of like New York, and like at 12 o'clock on that, I've never had this before where like my supervisor Nicole, she was like, oh, did you have lunch? And I'm like, no, like I'm just gonna keep packing up. She's like, oh no, we take an hour break, you got to go, like you got to stay here. I was like, well, where am I supposed to go? Like, I was like, what is lunch? Like, I don't know what you mean sit down and like take a break. And she's like, oh no, darling. Like, like they were just so like, it was amazing. And then my favorite, at 4 o'clock, again, my first day there, I'm still sitting there. And at 4 o'clock, she comes, she's like, oh, we're about to step out for tea. It's tea time. And I was like, oh, like, I'm just thinking like, we're just grabbing coffee and like coming. She's like, and I was like, oh no, I'm good. I like, whatever. She's like, no, like you have to take this break. It's 4 o'clock and we take tea. And she's like, and it's 13 minutes. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what? And she's like, it's 13 minutes and you have to have tea. And I was like, okay. Then 6 o'clock came and she's like, okay, we're done for the day. I was like, no, we're not. I was like, I'm going to fight you on this. Like, we are not done. She's like, it's 6 o'clock. We're going to the pub. I was like, she's like, for a drink to celebrate the day. We finished. And I'm like, Nicole, what? Like, I was just like, I'm not sure where I am right now, but I love this, to the point where my best friend and I, who was also on the program with me, I was like, yeah, so I kind of called my mom. I was like, I'm not coming back to the United States. Sophia, when I tell you, like, I canceled my return ticket.
Did you really?
Yeah, no, I stayed for past the internship. And my best friend and I were like, we're just going to travel Europe. My senior year, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do an internship at a fashion house. So I like listed out, these are my favorite brands: Chanel, Gucci, Prada. I ended up getting an internship at Gucci, and I was like in their PR department.
Yeah.
And I remember right then and there, this was the part where I was like, I don't think I want to be a fashion editor anymore. Like, I want to be at Gucci. And I don't know if it was because of what was happening, because like they were doing a lot of things that were just like PR newsworthy, where like everyone was just talking Gucci. And when it came to like looking for jobs, I started actively applying for PR jobs instead of magazine. And so I was getting a lot of the interviews for these brands, but like no one was actually giving me like the job. I will never forget this. There's a lot of things I'll never forget, but this was like top career life. I was just about to graduate. And like I said, May's coming, FIT. And my boss from Teen Vogue, who was my mentor, Taylor Sabasi Hill, she was the accessories director at Teen Vogue, and then like became like accessories director at Marie Claire US. And I remember calling Taylor and I was like, hey, like there was a job opening up at Marie Claire. She's like, it's not on my team, it's my counterpart, Nina Sturgio, at the time, whatever. And so I was like, okay. And she was like, I can talk to Nina because it's like her, like you'd be reporting to her, it's her team, whatever. But like, obviously you were my intern at Teen Vogue, like I'm gonna talk it up. Got the interview, whatever, met with Nina, great, it went good. I get an email from Nina Sturgio, like, Nina Garcia would like to meet with you. And I was like, and Nina Garcia is the head of the fashion department. So she is Taylor and Nina's boss.
Nina Garcia, Project Runway.
Yes.
Legend. Yes.
Editor-in-chief of Elle magazine.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm losing my shit. Like, I'm like unwell. I'm like, oh my God. That's also an alumni of FIT. This is the part that like everyone, when I tell people the story, they're like, what? That year I was graduating FIT, she was a commencement speaker. So my interview's on Monday with her, and she's coming to speak to us, our commencement, on Tuesday. So I'm like, oh my, like, what is this life? Like I may or may not leave college with a job now. I remember that interview so well. I gave her the answer. She's another one that you can't tell like where it's going. So we're done, whatever. She asked me, do you have any questions for me? And so I did ask a few questions about the job. Like, what are you looking for in the next candidate? Like literally, whatever. And then she answered them great or whatever. And she's like, any more questions? And I was like, yes. I was like, so what would you give the advice to someone that happens to be graduating from college to land their dream job? I'm graduating from FIT tomorrow, so I'm just so interested being that you're giving the speech. I tell you, I knew right. I was like, I got this job. I not to toot my own because she was just like, what? Like, it was just so like perfect for me in my situation. But like to ask her that and whatever, because I'm like, I want this job. So how do I get it? And you're giving students advice to how to get their job. Like, that's usually what a commencement speaker usually does. They encourage you. They're like, when you go for your dream, like, I'm like, you want to tell them, you tell me now. Like, I want the exclusive. It's like, that is a great question. So I was like, all right. And so I got up and she knew right away. And that's when I knew, I was like, yeah, we're in sync. I was like, girl, bye. And so I like literally dropped mic, gone, bye. And so I get goosebumps because I remember that day. So I remember what she was wearing. She was wearing a black suit. Like it was fitted. I think it was McQueen. I'm like in this, like, I like remember it because she was just like, what? And then I like kind of did a little skip hop, like, I was like, bye. I was like, see you in 24 hours, like XOXO. I was like, bye. I graduate. I'm like, no job yet. And then like 2 days later, Nina Ashley was like, yeah, so Nina G really liked you. Yeah, so we want to offer you the job. I was like, yeah, Ashley should. Because I took her advice. I was like, and so, yeah, I got the job. And then that's where Ashley
became an adult.
Yeah, became an adult.
So at Marie Claire, you were a fashion assistant and then you became a fashion editor. I have to know about the lore from the Project Runway days.
Oh, wow. Yes. So I became fashion assistant. And then what happened was, so I was in the closet. Nina's actual assistant had just left. Nina, at the time, because of her like caliber and everything like that and who she is, she needed a good assistant. And so it was going to take some time for the interview process. And so right away, they were like, you're doing great in the closet. Do you mind sitting in and being Nina's like pseudo assistant while we find someone? She was interviewing a lot of people, not liking anyone. And she's like, Ashley, like, I think we've been doing great together. And I was like, yeah, we have. Like, I love you. Like,
yeah.
Remember you hired me, whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, I just think you should be my assistant. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm so honored, of course, like, that you like me so much and like trust me and think I'm great enough to be your assistant, but I want to be a fashion editor and do the stories like I talked about.
Yeah.
And she was like, I know, but like I will promote you to fashion editor. I'll give you like other side things to do that will help you grow and, become one. So I became Nina's assistant and then she gave me the title of assistant fashion editor. So yeah, I worked with her for some time, whatever. Project Runway was amazing. Like I was always on set with her. It's with Michael, Heidi, Tim, and they were the funniest bunch ever. Like I was there when I was working with her when Christian Siriano won that season. I wasn't doing a lot for the magazine because I was always with her. So then this is where again segued into now coming into Saks and how I got the job at Saks because I had a candid conversation with Nina because we were close. And I was like, Nina, like, I love you. I love working for you. I love the magazine, but I don't think I want to be an editorial anymore. But I just love like more of the planning of your event because that's with Project Runway, we always had to plan events for her. And I was doing all of that. I was doing her social media. I was doing planning events for her. And that's where the event PR side of me was like, I'm going to Saks.
Yeah. And then at Saks, you focused on PR, marketing, and events for 6 years.
Yes, for 6 years.
How was the transition from editorial to events? I know you did some events with Nina, but I guess Saks too, how was it like completely?
Well, it was completely different in the sense like I had nothing to do with editorial. I was the PR coordinator for trunk shows. So it would be like trunk shows means like hosting like a shopping event in the store for a specific brand. I will say the one sort of keeping it still close to me is like I went into fashion. I was still in fashion. Like now I'm doing events, but like with all the fashion brands that I love and having the opportunity, it's a luxury retail brand. So like I'm like doing events with Chanel. I'm doing it at Gucci.
So after Saks, you went to IMG and you were an accounts manager. But what does that mean?
So I was on the client service team and basically it was still event planning, but now what they say I have clients. So when I IMG Live, I had our clients were Capital One. It was Marriott hotels. We Saks at one point. I brought Saks over for an event. Like essentially, it means just big businesses like that do events. Like Capital One is like the sponsor for a lot of things. So like I got to go to the Orange Bowl, like which is a college like thing. I'm like, yeah, sports. You know, they would put me on like some of these sports stuff. I'm like, why am I at the Super Bowl? Like there were so many guys that worked there too, and they would make them do the fashion, and like they would switch, and I'd be doing the sports stuff, and I was like, but
I know nothing about sports.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
why?
Like, yeah, why me? But it was great. Again, another great experience and opportunity because it was like just events and that kind of thing. And I really enjoyed it. It just was like a different world.
When did you start styling and celebrity styling?
When I left Marie Claire, I met my best friend, Molly Dixon, who is a celebrity stylist. So Molly and I met at Marie Claire as assistants. Molly left Marie Claire because she wanted to become a fashion stylist.
Okay.
And so she started working for like an OG stylist, Leslie Frimar, as her assistant. I didn't really know about celebrity styling, honestly, because back then no one really talked about it. I didn't even really know that there was a job such as that. I would help Molly when like they had big fittings because Leslie had some A-list clients. So I would help Molly a lot. Then Molly went out on her own. She's now no longer Leslie's assistant. She was starting to pick up her own clients and she was doing great. And so then she was like, hey, Ashley, like you want to, like what I used to do with Leslie, you want to help me? Like, no, I was like, of course, like you're my best friend, we can hang out. So I started helping Molly as a side thing. COVID happened. I was like one of the first people to like get let go. I wasn't even like furloughed. They were just like, we don't even know when events are ever going to come back. Candidly, Molly was bi-coastal, and so she was stuck in LA, like at this time too. So like she had a place in New York and she had a place in LA, and like which was a lot of stylists based in LA always had like a satellite office here and whatever. And Molly was one of those. She was going back and forth, but like at this time she was full time in LA. She's like, listen, one of my clients has something coming up and it's a shoot or whatever, and like we got clearance to like be there and stuff like that, but like I can't fly out. She's like, do you think you want to do it? And I was like, of course, like I just need anything, like I'd be happy to, and then I'll figure out like my next step. So I did it and I was like, okay, like I remember this is fun. Like, I was doing it on the side anyway for you. Then one project came to another, things started getting back to normal a little bit. People were starting to fly, like, we were allowed to be around people, kind of, whatever. That year when Fashion Week kind of came back and everything, Molly was like really busy. Like this was, but this was when like everybody was kind of like, we're all like a little bit normal. We can do things. Yeah. And she was like, I will need some help or whatever. I'm going to rent a space from another stylist. Her name's Michaela. I remember meeting Michaela. She's like, oh, like, what do you do? Whatever. I was like, actually, like Molly's like actually my best friend, but like I help her for some of her New York clients because like when she can't come out here, she's like, oh, that's cool. So she's like, are you a freelancer or freelance? And I was like, oh. So she was kind of the one that like because like with Molly it was different because it was like my friend.
Yeah,
like,
and you're just like helping
her. Yeah, and like she paid me, but I didn't look at it as like a job. I didn't put a title to it. Yeah, because I didn't even know that was a thing. And so she was like, oh, so like you're a freelancer and a stylist, and I was like, yeah, sure. She was like, yeah, right, because Molly hired you and like all that. I was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm a freelancer. I was like, So I called my mom. I was like, what is that? Like, in terms of like, how does this work in payment? And because I've never just like, I've always worked in corporate and everything. So Molly wraps up. She goes back to LA, like, bye. Everything's great. And then Mikhail and I exchanged numbers because she was like, oh, I really like you. You're fun. Like, whatever. Like, let's keep in touch. And like, maybe now this is like now a few weeks later have gone by and I still have like little small jobs with Molly coming up. And I was like, okay, still whatever. I get a text message from Michaela. She's like, listen, I have a big fitting coming up and it's for Meryl Streep. That's another. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. First job with her is for Meryl.
And she wrote out her name. Like it wasn't even just like, oh, for a class. She was just like Meryl Streep.
Like you better say yes.
I like reread that like 6 times. I was like, I'm sorry, who, what, where, what? And I was like, absolutely. And then the rest, I guess you could say, is history because I did this from Michaela. Like Molly was becoming bigger and like getting more clients. And so I'm helping Molly a lot. Then my name just started getting passed around and that's kind of like the rest is history.
Yeah. And you've worked with so many stylists.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, now you're working with Gina Ann Williams.
Love her.
You've worked with Erin Walsh a bunch of other people as well. So it's just through the grapevine. What was the most surreal moment you experienced in your career?
Cannes with Meryl Streep. So she's obviously iconic and was receiving the highest prestigious award there, the Palme d'Or. And again, I was already going to be taking a vacation with my mom to Europe or whatever. We were just like gonna be like ladies who lunch, because rich ladies who lunch, because that's my dream. I was already on the job with Michaela, like doing, like assisting Michaela to get her ready for this vet and everything. And so, you know, Michaela was kind of like, oh yeah, like, I think you mentioned that you're going to be there. Like, if you, like, maybe we could talk to her and see if like she needs assistance, because Meryl's just like very self-sufficient. She's so like cool, laid back, and like just not fussy. And so I was like, of course, like, and we've been working with her. I've worked with her a few times, and she's amazing, and like, she's so sweet, and we get along very well. And so then it turned out, yeah, it was like one of those, she kind of mentioned it to her team, and they were like, yeah, of course, like Meryl likes her, like loves her.
If you were to go back to when you were an intern, what would you do differently?
Gosh, that's a really good question, because like, I'm trying to think, like, every little thing I did obviously led to something good. I got like almost to everything I wanted. Like, you know, I went to Teen Vogue to go to Vogue. I do wish I was a little bit more cleaner in some of my ways of emails. When I sometimes see my resumes or like old emails, because I've had my Gmail for like 1,000 years. So I like look up something, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is from 2000, whatever. And I cringe. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I never was good at really writing. I will say I credit it to this one job where they hired a writing coach for me. Like, because they were like, you need help with these emails.
You need to clean it up a little.
Keep it tight, girl. And I was like, and that I will never forget. It's been the most helpful thing.
You work with interns all the time.
Yeah.
What is one of the biggest mistakes you see interns making?
You have to take these internships as if it's a real job, and you have to take it seriously. And like, it's very easy to tell who does and who doesn't. Trust me. Like, you know, you could even put up a face and like, this person does not like this internship. And that's fine. That's what an internship is to be there to learn and figure out like what you want to do. And like, is this the right path for you? So I always say this. I never get offended if someone's like, hey, I did this internship and I just don't want to be a stylist anymore, or I don't want to be an editorial. I mean, that's how I figured out a lot of things. But I think what was the difference between myself back then and a lot of people in my era is like, we stuck it out. At the end of the day, like for the most part, there were internships where I was like, no, whatever. But I still found ways. I was like, I need to find a way to like finish it out, because at the end of it, I just want to leave with a good experience. In our industry, it's very small. I think what's really important is like that you leave on good terms with someone, no matter what, if you can, like cordial, even if it's like the worst job you've ever had because you just really didn't like it or whatever.
I ask all my guests if there is an internship or opportunity that they can offer to the listeners to apply to.
Yes, of course. We're always looking. I am always looking. I will say the most important thing is you have to get school credit. At times also hire to, like I was paid. A lot of the stylists I do work with and what have you, like they are bigger businesses and will hire interns just as long as you get college credits. And then there are some that are paid opportunities.
So you're open to applications for assistant roles, but also interning for you or other stylists?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there an email they can reach out to?
Yes, it's ashley.afriyie@gmail.com.
Well, Ashley, thank you so much for your time and for supporting me.
Of course, Sophia, I'm so proud of you too. I think this is amazing. Sophia was one of my rock star interns, and like she was great, and I love her, and like we still work together. And so, you know, she's obviously an example of what I think is a good intern. And like Sophia did things that were like stuff that I saw myself when I was younger. So I was like, okay, I like her. She's smart. She calls it. She, you know, everything. So if you know her, obviously follow her lead. And yeah.
We'll appreciate it for saying all those nice words about me.
Of course, girl.
Thank you.
I got you.
And thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.